Hi friends, it's nice to be with you. I've been praying a little bit with the Palm Sunday readings and thinking a little bit about Palm Sunday. I want to just share a reflection with you and then also get you to think, or I guess first I want you to get you to think about Palm Sunday and then I want to share a bit of a reflection with you. I don't know about you, but I always enjoy a bit of the chaos of Palm Sunday, you know, the gathering, the procession if we're able to. Here in Wyoming, sometimes that can be hard because weather can interrupt our gathering outsides, right? I remember as kids, you know, taking a palm and having a sword fight. And of course, my sisters were always really good at taking those palms and making them into crosses and, I don't know, origami doves or something like that. You guys know you're a lot better at that than I am. We don't have palms this coming Sunday. I expected that we were going to be under a statewide stay-at-home order. So about 10 days ago, I made that decision not to spend $500 on palms because we wouldn't have any way to get them to members of the parish. In hindsight, I wish that I would have ordered them. We could have done a little bit of drive-through palms at the SCM parking lot, something like that. But I think that there's an opportunity here for us to maybe think about Palm Sunday. Palms are a Mediterranean image of victory and conquest. They definitely make sense in a Mediterranean context. But if we had a victor coming down the streets of our Wyoming towns, we wouldn't cut palms because we don't have palms. What would we strew on the streets in front of the coming victor to rejoice and to acclaim the way that victor has conquered? I would suspect we might, if we were to do this, we might be inclined to cut some branches off of like evergreen trees, or maybe to strew flowers or even ticker tape, right? You think about some of the great war processions and parades coming back from like World War II. Those are some of the images. So I want you to think about that. The passage is about a victor coming into a city. How do you and how does your family acclaim that victor? And maybe get something to memorialize that. Invite your kids. Make ticker tape and then make them clean it up afterwards. Maybe you go and you cut a couple of branches off of an evergreen tree or some strips off of the lilac bush or off of the aspen tree or something like that. Use those as your palms this year. They aren't going to be nearly as good to fold into our crosses and into our origami doves. But you know, we've had a lot of changes this year, and so a Palm Sunday difference might be worthwhile as well. If you do something in your family, read this passage. Gather everybody, read this passage. Get your whistles and your drums and your vuvuzelas. Remember those from World Cup 10 years ago? But like, get it all. And then acclaim and go nuts as you rejoice as Jesus is entering the city, right? Like, in this passage from Matthew's Gospel that I'm going to share with you in a minute, the entire city was shaken by the celebration of the regular, normal, everyday people as Jesus entered the city. There's another passage where Jesus is told, "Master, silence your disciples. They're going too crazy." And Jesus says, if they become quiet, the very stones will cry out to God. So going nuts, beating the drums, blowing the whistles, crying aloud, that is the entry of Jesus Christ into the city. Now, let me give you a little bit to pray with, okay? So I would invite you. Most of the time on Palm Sunday, our attention gets directed towards the Passion that's read in the place of the Gospel. And it's easy for us to lose sight of this entry of Jesus into the city. So this is an opportunity. Friday, Saturday before Palm Sunday, read into this passage. Jesus, who comes into the city as a conquering victor, but also meek, and riding on an ass. There's a powerful image here. So this is Matthew chapter 21, verses 1 through 11. And if you're curious, Matthew is quoting a passage from Zechariah the prophet, one of the minor prophets that we don't hear from except for a couple of passages. If you're interested in that, that's the prophet Zechariah, chapter 9, verses 9 and 10, speaking about the day of the Lord, when the Lord's king will come, but he will come meek and riding on a colt. And then, because he brings the Lord's peace, he will banish the chariot and the bow and the instruments of war, and there will be peace in the land, peace that comes from God. As you look at this Matthew passage of the Psalms, it would perhaps be a good opportunity to pray using the imagination style of St. Ignatius. Seth, the seminarian, recorded a video. We dropped it a week ago, Monday, so 10 days ago. But he walks us through praying with the imagination. And this is a dramatic, chaotic scene of Jesus entering into the city. And so it would be useful to enter in 5 to 20 minutes, picture the scene, and then ask what it is that the Lord's doing in our own lives as we imagine Jesus entering the city, perhaps Jesus entering our own heart, as we hear the acclaim, the tumult of the people, knowing that just a few days later, those who rejoiced in him are scattered, and even those who followed him most closely are going to betray him, deny him, and abandon him as he is crucified and tortured and left to die. It's a dramatic and a powerful image, a good opportunity for us to begin our walk with Jesus into these days of Holy Week, to prepare our hearts to enter into his dying and into his rising. Remember, this is holy ground. We can come out of this time of lockdown, quarantine, social distancing with a deeper faith and relationship with our God that will touch absolutely every aspect of our lives. Even though we can't gather, we're still church. Let's continue to remember that we share a spiritual communion with each other, praying for each other, loving each other, perhaps even offering up small sacrifices for each other, knowing that even though we aren't present in the Spirit of the living God, we are still one body, loving each other. Know that I'm praying for you. I pray that you have a blessed day.